Hello everyone, this is the 5th video. I'm actually learning to use the app pretty well now. I actually understand how all it works, which is awesome. After 5 videos, I probably should have learned it before the first one. I was just too excited to get it started. So anyways, the beginning moves for these openings are E4, C5, B4, C takes B4. I'll be going over declined after all the accepted variations because people normally do not decline. Knight to F3, which is my standard move. For the first few videos are going to be going over C6 and D4. For this variation, E6 is still the move that I'm going over, and A3 is my response for each one of them. Now, I already went over B takes A3, D5, and queen to C7. Knight to F6 is the one I'm going over today. Me personally, and this is very structured and very even, me personally, if someone were to play E5, I actually enjoy to simply push the knights. When it comes to this opening, I like to actually do that. Not in all openings, but in these ones specifically. The knight has two possible ways. He can go here to D5. He can go to E4. E4 looks a little weird, so I'm going to go over D5. They're both pretty solid, but I don't think anyone will run into E4. If you do, then there's a good chance that both of you really know what you're doing, so it'll be fine either way. So, and I might look over it after I finish this part anyways, just to do it. After this, A4 is I capture on B4. The most normal response here is to develop your bishop and call check, which is very similar to the moves before. And I simply I don't do C3 here. I normally do C3, but I do not do C3 here. Now, if somebody were to play C3, they can just capture with the knight. You're targeting the queen. The queen has to move. You're basically threatening check once you move your knight. It's really bad. So most of my videos involve C3. In this particular opening, after knight to F6 and kicking the knight a little bit, C3 is actually very bad. So if somebody were to try to play C3, if you were to try to play C3 as white, he would just simply capture, and now you're pretty much in danger. You pretty much have to move your queen, and they'll take your knight and call it check, or you can capture a knight, and it'll be check anyways, and you lose your rook for a piece. So C3 is bad here. It is normal for almost all the openings that I usually go over, but not in this situation. So in this situation here, the best move to do here is bishop to D2. It blocks the check, and you don't lose anything over it. And here black has different options. He can simply capture. If he captures, you can go queen to D2, recapture, and it's pretty much even. From here, he can play bishop to, where's the other one at? Bishop to E7, getting ready to castle. In this situation, I would just simply develop. You can play C4 if you want to attack while you're developing. I mean, it's not really attack and developing, you're just attacking and getting a more solid structure in the center. You can simply develop a piece and get ready for castle if you prefer castling. So it's like, you can still play C3 here if you wish to be a more passive move. I don't like passive moves very much myself. There's different ways to develop here. You can move here. This is more passive. You can develop. It's all. I was talking and I'm like, I wasn't making the moves. I was thinking, I'm not actually making them. I apologize for that. So after bishop to e7. Those are also all, pretty much possible. He can decide to not move and just simply castle. Now here, after he castles, there's a lot of stuff that you can do here. You can play bishop to b5 if you wanted. You can play c3 if you wanted to attack. You can play d3 if you wanted. There's a lot of different moves that were possible that, if depending on your preference of play. So again, if after you defend, he has different options, and his options don't really give him an edge. It's just simply stuff that he can do. He can play queen to c7, which you can capture if you wanted, and he can recapture back. You can play c3 if you wanted. You can play bishop. I already know if I want this one over or not, but bishop c5, bishop here. You can play c3. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do here if you wanted. I wouldn't recommend this, even though it's not bad, just because of the castling. So black has different options here, and his options don't actually do anything for him that makes it a good possibility. So this is a very decent way of doing it. So now, if he captured with his knight instead, okay, if he captured with his knight, you can play c3 to kick him, and he would have to go back to d5. He doesn't have to, but he can't go back to d5, and you can simply push your pawn. So it's not much of an issue if he did that. Alright? I just believe that bishop to b4 is the most likely, only because it develops a piece with a check. And most people like to develop and attack at the same time if they can. Now, over here I said knight to d4 is e4 is a very weird move, but it's not necessarily bad. If someone played this, I really wouldn't capture the pawn here. I really wouldn't do that. He can simply recapture and call check, and I think that's a little, you're kind of cramped in, and I just don't like it at all for white. So that's why I would not play the normal capture move. So it's just really uncomfortable. I don't like it. So if somebody were to play knight to e4, I would not capture. I would instead maybe play queen to e2, or even bishop to d3. I would not do that. I would not capture immediately with the pawn. So, but if you can capture with the pawn, if he did a different move, I would definitely do so, just because I like to get that part squared away, and mostly white's situations are very similar regardless of the move order, and that's why I want to go over each move order separately. That way you can see that it usually ends very, very similar. For the opening usually ends very similar. So you have like basic similar ideas and lines of attacking, trying to prevent from castling and developing a certain way, and you usually have more space and stuff. In this situation here, it's a little bit more cramped though, but it's not necessarily bad. Okay, so most likely here you might see something like this, or even d5 is something that you might see here. These are actually pretty good moves. If he were to go knight c3, I would simply just capture and let him capture back. That way, to avoid any complications. That's what I would do. If he were to play d5 instead, I would simply just castle and protect my king. And this looks pretty, I think for most part it's pretty even. So that's what I would do in that situation, and why. So hopefully you're enjoying the videos. This is for the e4, c5, b4, c takes b4, knight to f3, knight to c6, d4. All the openings are going to be involving this. I'm going to make a whole lot of videos on it. And good responses for black. Obviously, after this right here, knight to e4, knight to d5 are good moves. I don't see anyone going back to knight to g8 because it undevelops a piece. Knight to g4 I don't like. I don't think it's a good move. If someone were to do this, I would simply ignore that and just simply capture. And if he were to continue like this, in here, because the knight isn't on d5 or e4, you can play c3. So it eliminates that complication. So knight to g4 actually is beneficial to you. And after he moves back, I mean, you can simply kick the knight and be in a much better position. I mean, you can even capture the knight if you wanted here. So I don't see anyone playing knight to g4. If someone were to try that, it just wouldn't be very good for him. Let me see. I figured I'd go over a few possible bad moves just because. Obviously, no one's going to do d5 because you just take the knight. I mean, the knight's under threat, so. And knight to h5, I would simply capture. If he were to capture back, I would just do c3. And after he moves back, like this, I might even do something like, g4, because he has, like, where's he going to go? Where's the knight going to go? I mean, if he goes to f6, you take it with the pawn. If he moves here, you take it with the bishop. I mean, I don't see anywhere the knight can go. So h5 kind of loses a piece if he decides that he wants to capture the pawn with the bishop afterward. So, so that's pretty much the gist of it. I'm gonna end the video now, so you can like and subscribe if you want to get updates. And I'm gonna try to incorporate why certain moves I believe are the best one for black, and then little small stuff here and there that can go wrong if he does something a little different. Just so just so you can see why I say I think these are the best moves for black. Alright, well, like and subscribe. So this is the Ramirez variation of the wing gambit for the Sicilian.